This is the Seven Figure Standard Podcast, hosted by Arash Vasugi and Mikey Stiller, with mindset and strategies to help you break through and create personal freedom.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Seven Figure Standard Podcast. I'm Mikey Stiller, joined by my co-host, Arash Vasugi, and I am so happy to be back with you for this week's episode. But first, let me welcome my co-host, Arash. How are you?
I'm great, Mikey. How are you?
I'm doing good, and I'm excited about the topic we're going to get into today because it's something that we have to constantly do forever, and that is upgrade our thinking. So anytime you set a new goal, you're going to have to upgrade your thinking to get there, but you're always going to have to upgrade your thinking. You can never stop that process. So I would love to know your mindset around this, and then let's get into some practicalities.
Well, every stage of growth is going to demand new thinking. So, like if everyone just looks at where they were 24 months ago compared to now, are you thinking the same way? Now, if you're stuck, you may be thinking the same way you were 24 months ago. But to create transformation, you have to constantly upgrade your thinking. What's so sad to me is most people don't understand the importance of thinking. Thinking matters. To create abundance, I'm forever saying to create abundance, you have to be bold. To be bold, you have to think in a certain way. And so thinking is everything. Like one of my number one rules, like personal philosophies, is I want to make my future a lot better than my past or present. In order to do that, I have to think much different. I have to think without effort. I have to trust my instinct. And when you start really understanding you're not a body, that you're living in a body, that you are a garden, just like if you were planting seeds, that's what your thinking is. You're planting seeds and you're going to grow it. But most people don't think of themselves as a garden. And they're constantly sending double binding messages to themselves, and they're wondering, why am I not getting the results? And it all comes down to how you think. Now, I always am talking about your past, your future self. And, to think accurately, you want to take parts of your past that really served you into your future. Like Mike, you and I, if we look at us and everybody listening to this looks at them, there's certain parts of your past that was really good, that created really good skill sets. I want to keep bringing those skills with me into my new level of exponential growth. And, I told you this the other day, exponential growth is very deceptive. Like if we think of a bamboo tree, it doesn't grow right away, yet everybody's looking at their results saying, oh, it's not working. But it's not that it's not working. We haven't put enough trust into it of living the right processes long enough to create the right amount of growth.
So true and so good. So when you look at your thinking and you go to upgrade your thinking, are you looking forward to what thinking the goal will demand to upgrade your thinking? Or are you looking at your thinking now and where it's not serving you? Or is it a combination of both?
A combination of both. Everything I look at is 24 months into the future. So I want everyone just for a moment, just to fast forward 24 months. And I want you to assume that you already achieved your goal, your big goal that you're working on right now. Now, what decisions would that person have made who had already achieved it looking back at you? So we're looking almost like observing ourselves. And that's how I am constantly upgrading my thinking. And how I do it super effortlessly is all we have is today. And I want to be great today. I don't want to be good. I want to be great today because that's all I have. So I don't measure it. I'm going to think in a certain way for 90 days. I say just for today, I'm going to step into a new idea of myself. I'm going to do things that I've never done before. And I'm going to do it in a better way. If it's the same things, I'm going to do it in a better way. That's why 1% is so valuable. But I will tell you to upgrade your thinking, there's 3 key components you have to let go of. Complaining, criticizing, and blaming outside results, blaming yourself, blaming others. You can't access world-class information and get the download that you have access to work on a bigger idea of yourself if you're always looking at what's wrong with somebody, if you're always looking at what's wrong with yourself, if you're always blaming somebody else.
Mhm.
And so this all goes into having a big kick-ass vision of your future. If you don't have a future that drives you, there's no reason for you to think bigger. And that's the challenge that people have, is they don't have an authentic want. The want has to be authentic, where you don't have to tell anybody why you want it. It's your want. And that's when your thinking will naturally upgrade. Like my thinking, it's not hard for me to think anymore. I have a standard of constant upgrade and always be in upgrade mode. So the thinking keeps compounding over time.
There's a couple of things that came to mind that I want to dig into there that you just went over. The first is we did an episode on quitting things. And those 3 things you just named, just by quitting those gives you so much room to grow without doing anything else. Will you talk about that really quickly too, about how elimination is so important in upgrading?
Well, I always talk about quantum leaps demand elimination. That's what a quantum leap is. It's doing a few things in a great way. And, we want to eliminate anything that does not serve us. Now, what do most people want to eliminate? Being half in, half out. We want to be all in. We want to make nothing happens with your want without a commitment. You've got to make a decision. This is what I'm doing no matter what. And you work towards it no matter how long it takes, but you're looking at a brighter vision and a brighter future for yourself. So it's worth it to be all in. Like to me, and if you work with a lot of really elite performers, it's harder to not be all in than it is to be all in. Like that's the one gear you get to when you upgrade your thinking. So everybody's all in on something. They could be all in on excuses. They're still all in. So you're practicing all in. We want to practice it in a healthy way so you could create the future you really desire. Because look at this year. We're in August now. We're in the middle of August at the time of us recording this, right? And look how fast this year went.
Flew.
It flew. And like if we look back on 2024 so far and said, has my vision grown this year? Have I gotten better? And if we look back and say, where did I raise my standard? What was the pinnacle discipline that I installed in myself? Let's see, if we didn't, we're screwing around with ourselves. We're wasting our time. And then we have no right to complain about anything because we're in control of that. We're in control of our energy. I'll tell you exactly how to upgrade your thinking right away is eliminate anything that depletes your energy. Anything. That could be a person, that could be a circumstance, that could be a situation. Because you want to remember, when we haven't learned a lesson, our brain holds on to it until we learn that lesson. And the universe keeps playing that same lesson in different forms throughout. Now, I think there's only one way to create our life, and that's to create it in freedom. And I believe everybody should have freedom. I believe everybody's capable of having freedom. What that means to you is all maybe different than what it means to me. And, greatness is just about going from failure to failure and not losing enthusiasm. That's what activates greatness. I always say, why are sales professionals, everybody's a sales professional, whether they know it or not, but why are they paid? They're the highest paid profession in the world. Why? Because they're really good with rejection. They're really good at overcoming rejection. They know they're going to get rejection during the days, but they're really good with it. Why? Because they're thinking. They don't get down about it. Mm-hmm. Now, somebody could be in selling saying, that's the opposite of me. I get really down, So when we're upgrading our thinking, I have a process I teach our clients. I call it our freedom process, where we have to understand, we have to want something far greater than what we have right now, that it gives us a reason to grow. And abundance is about creating a much bigger picture of ourselves and a bigger future for ourselves. Then it goes into defining our authentic want. This is what I want. I don't need to explain it to anybody. This is my want, my reasons. I'm going to do it. And then it's about taking extreme ownership where I'm responsible for everything in my life. And then it goes into taking all your actions with swagger, where you're acting the part. Even if you don't have the confidence, you act like you have the confidence. And it's about completely letting go. You're not attached to anything. That compounded will upgrade your thinking, but it will also create freedom in one's life.
Absolutely. Arash, I want to circle back to something you mentioned a couple minutes ago. You said you're always working 24 hours in the future or 24 months in the future. And that is so good for so many different reasons for what we're talking about here, upgrading your thinking, but also so that you can see obstacles before you get to them and you are on offense instead of on defense or reacting to what's happening. Will you talk about how that benefits you in that scenario?
Well, first of all, you're willing to fail at your future self instead of succeed at your present self. You're actually creating so many invisible results in a positive direction for you. And you may not see the benefits of them, but you will see them if you understand and trust the creation process. And you're just focused on getting better. Like all we have is right now. We're either right now, you and I are either adding value to somebody else's life or we are taking it away. People ask me all the time, what was the trick for you to transform your finances? And it always came down to one thing. I started focusing on how can I add value to somebody else's life? And like every one of us can add more value than we're doing right now. Why? Because you keep thinking different. You let go and think from a bigger idea. It's not about what I can get. It's about what I can give. Now, people will hear that, but how many practice it? How many are intentional about it? And then you look at the word intention. You know this by listening to my podcast. Nothing is more important in your thinking than being hyper intentional. Nothing will move more mountains than being hyper intentional. And at the end of the day, nobody wants wealth for money. They want wealth for freedom of choice. They want wealth for fulfillment. And that's what we want to focus on. We want to have a goal, and then we think, feel, and act every day from a bigger idea of that person. Every day you can get a little better. You can get 5% better one day. You can get 0.5 one day. But if you just get 1% better every day, it's going to change the game.
So what is your recommendation on the best way or the most productive way to do a check-in as far as, okay, where's my thinking at? Am I constantly in upgrade mode or am I stagnant right now? Or, oh man, I'm on the wrong track. I'm moving backwards in my thinking. And how regularly do you do those check-ins?
I do it 3 times a day. And I created a concept called the power of 5. And I think that's the best check-in tool that I've ever used for myself. That's why I created it. And all you have to do 3 times a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and once in the evening. In the morning, what I do is I say, so it's a little different. I plant my intentions. I say, today, I'm going to make every decision from the person 24 months from now. I am going to pick my one discipline and I'm going to behave that way all day long. And then I watch myself behaving that way before I even start my day. Like I'll literally close my eyes and see myself acting like that person and behaving like that person. Then I say, whatever I say yes to is going to be from the person 24 months in the future. And then I think, feel, and act. My intention is I'm going to think, feel, and act like that person, and I'm going to have the most amazing attitude. Then around 1 o'clock, 1:30, I have an alarm that goes off. And then I just observe my first half of the day. I just go back to all those parts of the power of 5, the decisions, the disciplines, the standard, the identity, and the attitude, and observe, did I do this? And then what if I didn't do it? I'll say, what was I thinking at that time? Because it's impossible for me to tell you that I'm perfect at thinking all day long because it's not accurate. We have so many distractions that But I always want to know what triggered when I stopped thinking, or what triggered if I ever accepted an idea of lack and limitation, or accepted an idea of worry. That will tell me that's a fear I need to look at. So it gets me to course correct, and then I do the same thing in the evening.
So good. And since you brought up the Power Five, I'm just going to do a shameless plug here. We came up with something called the Freedom Framework. And if you email hello@vosscoachingco.com with Freedom Framework in the subject line, we will send it to you. But it basically has 6 of the core concepts that Arash teaches that are daily processes to implement in your life to create freedom. And the Power Five happens to be one of them. So if you want an more in-depth overview of what that concept is and how to implement it in your life, email us hello@vosscoachingco.com, Freedom Framework, and we'll send it over to you. Arash, let's go ahead and get into an action step for today.
Well, my action step is really going to be very simple. And it's going to be, I want you to practice. Don't take my word for it. Practice working with the intent that I'm going to work with a bigger idea just this week, just for 5 days or 7 days, really, between the next podcast, 7 days. I'm going to work with a bigger idea as the intent and practice the Power of 5. Start it out with hyper intention in the morning. And when you're hyper intentional, like, have some energy towards it, have some fire. Don't say, oh, okay, I'm going to make decisions. I'm going to do, no, say, today I'm going to make decisions from me 24 months from now. And I'm going to assume it's impossible for me to fail today. I'm going to create the most amazing day. And then practice it in the afternoon and practice it in the evening. But I want you to remember, nobody can control your thinking unless you give your power up. You can become the most amazing thinker by building discipline. You can become masterful at controlling yourself. And you don't know how to get there. If you knew how, you wouldn't be thinking from a bigger idea of yourself. See, I never know how. I just know, and I allow the ideas. And I want you to eliminate for 7 days complaining. I want you to eliminate blaming. And I want you to not be critical for 7 days. That's what will really do this. Now, if you're listening to this and you're not getting everything, listen to it 10 times. Listen to it 50 times. The repetition of listening, and if you want something big, if you don't have a big want, you're not going to do what I'm suggesting. But for the people who have fire in their belly and want to crush 2024, this is what you want to listen to over and over again.
And just 2 things on that action step. 1, it's easier said than done, because you might realize a lot about your thinking that you didn't know when you're concentrating on doing what Arash just gave you. And 2, it is easy not to do. So make sure that you're doing the action step. That's like one of our core concepts is knowledge is not power, implementation is power. So can't emphasize that enough. Arash, thank you so much. And thanks to all of you. If you enjoyed today's lesson.
I want more thing around thinking that I want to give everybody. I wrote this down to the other day. It says, what am I tolerating in my life? And that'll tell you where your thinking is. And then also one more is, what do I want to allow in my life? It'll really upgrade your standard, but it'll upgrade your thinking at the same time.
I love that. Yes. Love the good questions. Arash, thank you. Thanks to all of you. If you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and leave us a rating and review. Share this with your friends and family, and we'll see you next week with another episode of the 7 Figure Standard podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 7 Figure Standard. We hope you found the insights and strategies helpful on your journey to success. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform to help us reach more people like you. To learn more about Arash and Mikey and how Voss Coach & Co. can help you achieve your goals and reach new levels of success, visit vosscoachingco.com. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of 7 Figure Standard.